Good evening, everyone. I'm currently living through what is being called the hottest summer ever in the history of Japan. It is very difficult to be outside right now. Last Saturday, they recorded the hottest temperature ever recorded in the city of Tokyo. It was something like 42 degrees centigrade in the shade, which is insane. If you don't know how much that is, by the way, I mean, maybe look it up or move to a country that makes more sense. That is not the thing to say, by the way, on a channel that has like 80% American viewership, but whatever. This is supposed to be a video on how to play against Kuma and Panda. It's been a while since we made one of these, but I need to reiterate what I always say at the beginning of these videos, which is that these are not high-level strats for how to beat a Kuma or Panda expert in tournament. It's more for dealing with those online bears that you find very frustrating and doing better against people who are exploiting their gimmicks when you play online. And I think it's important to do a video like this specifically on Kuma and Panda because they really do seem to be heavily disliked characters to play against. When I made my guide on the characters, I got a lot of comments and sort of dislikes from people who didn't have any problem with the video per se. They just don't want information on how to play these characters circulating because they don't want to have to play against them online. So it's obviously something that we all need to learn a little bit more about. I also used to find them very frustrating, but lately I'm doing a lot better. So I'm going to go through how I strategize against them, and hopefully we can all learn something. So before I start talking about specific moves, I think I want to give you my view of what the Kuma and Panda player is usually trying to do against you, what their sort of game plan is. And they can really specialize in two things, so I guess I should take control of Kuma when I talk about this. They can do two things very well. The first one being with punishment, because they have great moves like this forward back 2, and then the amazing down for 2-1. Both of these are full launchers with extreme range, one of them being a safe high, which is obviously great, and the other one being a very punishable mid. But you can see right there that the range is absolutely insane. So if you're dealing with the kind of Kuma Panda player who is going to do a lot of backdashing and harassing you with the down back 2 and trying to whiff punish you, then that's something you need to be very careful about. But then the other thing that they do is that they're kind of mix-up characters who are trying to apply mix-ups from this stance, which is hunting bear stance. This down forward 1+2 is the main mid, and then they have lows in the shape of 1, 2, 2, and if they want to go a little bit balls to the wall, the back 1+2, 1+2, which is very powerful but very punishable. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to deal with that stance, but I think before we do that, I want to talk about a move that doesn't have anything to do with either with punishment or hunting bear, which is this string. So let's start here. This is 2, 1, 3 from Kuma Panda, and it's something that you see a lot of online bears apply really liberally. And it works in a kind of a unique way that we need to talk about. So the reason this can be difficult is that when you have a low like this that comes out as part of a string and is very telegraphed, your instinct will be to try and low parry the low. But if I get hit by the first 2 jabs right here and then try and parry the low, let's see what happens. So you can see that it's actually completely impossible to parry this low if you eat the first 2 hits of the jab string. This is, by the way, a 10-frame jab string that they're going to use for their 10-frame block punishers. So a lot of the time they're throwing out the 2 hits guaranteed, and then they tack on the low for cheeky extra damage. And if you attempt to parry it, they're going to get that damage completely guaranteed. And it's actually quite a lot of damage to eat just, through chips, so not very good. Now, let's see what happens if I block the first 2 hits. Okay, so if I block the first 2 jabs, it suddenly becomes possible to parry the low. I mean, on whiff, obviously it is, but like that, right? So You need to distinguish in between when you're eating the first 2 hits of the string, which you're always going to do when it's being used as a 10 frame block punisher, and when the jabs are being blocked, because then you have the option to go for the parry, which is the most powerful punishment option that you have here. You can get really quite good damage, especially if you know how to combo against, you know, Kuma with your unique options, right? You can get really good damage. If you get hit by the first 2 hits, you don't have to eat the low. It's not a natural combo. You still have the ability to block by holding down back. The timing is a little bit finicky, but when you see the second jab hit, you just hold down back and you'll get it every time. And then you have the option of punishing with something like your while standing 4. In Miguel's case, he can get while standing 1 here if he wants to, and then he can go into savage mix-ups, which is cool. But if I try and do the while standing 2-4 here, you can see that that does not punish. So this is not -14. So you can't launch this low, that's what I'm trying to say. But you can get something, and if you're playing one of those characters who gets very good stuff for their while standing 11 or 12, then you can punish him pretty heavily for using this string. But this is something that gets abused a lot, and I just thought it was important to bring that up before we start talking about other moves. Now, I mentioned that hunting bear stance is the powerful mix-up option that the bears are trying to go for. It just so happens that the best moves that they're trying to use anyway have the option of naturally transitioning into hunting bear. And one of the main moves that we need to talk about is the power crush, which is the back one. Looks like that. What I've done in this example that I've recorded here is that I've done the back one, and then by pressing 3+4, Kuma has the option of canceling into hunting bear stance. The important thing to note here is that if he doesn't go into hunting bear, he just does the move and stands back up, the frame data on block becomes very different. If the transition into hunting bear happens like it is happening right here, the move is actually -15 on block, meaning that, as you can see right here, I can punish this for a full combo with a hop kick, which is great, but it's not what I'm going to recommend that you attempt to do for a specific reason that I'm about to explain. But one more thing that you need to be very aware of that I'm going to record and show you right now, that one of the most important things about playing against Kuma is that you don't want to block a move that has the option of going into hunting bear and then throwing out highs. And this is such an important thing. And one of the things that gets you killed really often, because your instinct as a Tekken player is that when you block something, it's your turn to attack, and a very common option for initiating offense is using, you know, a jab, or maybe you try and go for, you know, a standing 4, some sort of fast high, and that's dangerous for this reason. So let's press record and do this transition. So what I did right there is Kuma's going to go into hunting bear after the back one, and then do his down 4-2, which is a mid launcher. And let's see what happens if I try and jab in between. Right, so this is the reason. If Miguel does his double jabs, he can actually interrupt here some of the time. But yeah, as you can see here, you really don't want to go for like random jab strings and stuff when Kuma is doing moves that have the option of transitioning into hunting bear. It's very, very dangerous. And one of the other main mids you need to be very careful about here is when he gets counter hits in this stance with the down 1+2. He can do a down forward 1-1 for a full combo, and if you look at the damage that just dealt, it's actually more damage than a full combo. It's completely insane. So you don't want to unnecessarily try and interrupt Kuma. You kind of want to chill and wait and pick your spots, and you also don't want to try and interrupt or take your turn with highs when Kuma has the option to go into hunting bear. You want to do low hitbox highs and sometimes fast lows, right? Now let's get back to the back one, what I was talking about with that. The last example I showed you that it's -15 and launch punishable on block when he transitions into hunting bear. In this example, I recorded him not doing the transition. He's just going to do the move and then stand back up. If I try to do the hop kick here, you can see that it actually does not punish because the frame data is different. When Kuma doesn't do this transition, the move becomes minus 13 instead of 15. So if I try to do a minus 13 Punisher here, Miguel has a good option in the shape of down forward 1-2. You can see that that is actually going to punish comfortably for 30 damage, so very good. Problem is that you never know, you can never be 100% sure as to whether or not your opponent is going to do the stance transition. And if you assume that he's going to perform it and then he doesn't, he stands back up, you do a hop kick, he blocks the hop kick, and then he gets down back 1-2 for a punish on your hop kick, which is an exceptionally powerful punish that leads into mix-ups and everything else. So that can be very dangerous. So my tip is that when you block the back 1 power crush from Kuma, use a 13 frame block punisher to punish it most of the time. Yes, you can't capitalize on the full combo you might get, but at least you don't run the risk of getting damaged yourself. And really, in my opinion, the most important thing about playing against Kuma is not to take these risks and try and launch him for all this massive damage. It's more of trying to shut down his flowchart and not letting him do his dance, right? So if you can interrupt him with something like a fast mid and just stop him in his tracks, I think that's one of the most important things. And then you've at least done something, and then you move on from there, right? But that's on back 1. Minus 13 when he doesn't transition, minus 15 when he does. Make sure that you always punish it with mids, even if you have something great that you want to use that is a high. He has the option of going under it with Hunting Bear, and then you're going to eat massive damage. So be very, very careful about using unnecessary highs against this character. Really one of the most important things for online matches. The next move we need to talk about, and really one of the most powerful moves that you need to be careful about, is the running 1+2, which is this move. The thing about this move is that it also has the option of transitioning into Hunting Bear. The difference being that this move is actually plus on block. Depending on what range you block it at, it's going to give him somewhere in between +2 to +7. And in my opinion, that means that you should, because you can't be 100% sure, assume that he has at least like +5 or 6, because you don't want to, take unnecessary risks. But if he does the transition into Hunting Bear here, he gets a free mix-up because he's plus enough that it's too dangerous for you to try and interrupt him. So when you block this move, don't be too happy about trying to interrupt Kuma's next option, because he has a great mix-up. He's crushing highs if he is in Hunting Bear, and you need to be very careful about not eating those counter hits like the down 1+2. If the move connects, by the way, it's just okay, I haven't done a true install running for the input, but let's create some space here and then get hit by the move intentionally. It's not particularly interesting, but yeah, it does a massive chunk of damage and knocks you down, which isn't good either. So the way you want to deal with this move is you want to move around it with a sideways movement like this, which is not super easy. It's one of those where you need to time it really well. The closer he is, the better. As long as he's not like super close. And I think the timing you want to do it at is when he hunkers down right before he does this little leap forward. He kind of stops for a second, and that's when you want to place the move for this to be consistent. And then if you're fast enough and you have something reliable, you can launch him from the side. You're going to get awkward side combos or diagonal combos and stuff. So, again, it's not a bad idea to just do some sort of reliable thing, like maybe just that to get something, and at least you haven't risked getting launched for messing up your attempt. But it's one of those powerful running moves that gives plus frames, like Noctis, like Dragunov. Not quite as good as Dragunov, obviously, but really the most powerful and dangerous move that transitions into Hunting Bear stance. There are a couple more like upward 1+2 that we're not going to talk about in this video, but just be aware that when you block this move, you should not be doing highs, and you really shouldn't be attacking at all. You should be waiting, and if you're going to eat the mix-up. If you want to try and hard read the low, then maybe try and duck and block that, but definitely stay on the offensive is my tip. Now, the next move we need to talk about, this is a really important one, and if you don't know about this, it's very dangerous to play against these characters, so we really do need to talk about this. It's this string. This is Kuma's forward 1-1-1. this move is extremely unique and works in a way that no other move works in Tekken, because it's the fastest counter hit launcher in the entire game. It's a 10 frame move that will give you a full combo for great damage on counter hit. In contrast, the other counter hits that give good damage for 10 frames are like, 4-2 from Jack. That's a guaranteed chunk, but this is a legit launcher for all the damage, and it's really the fastest move in the game that can lead to a full combo, with the exception of Yoshi's Flash, as far as I can tell. So it's so fast for the potential damage that it deals. So how does the move work? This is important. Well, the first thing to note is that while the first hit is a high, the second and third are both mids. So if you try and duck the first hit and punish, you need to be very fast, and you don't want to mess it up, because if you do, you're going to get launched. So that's very dangerous to begin with. The second thing you need to know is that the second and third hit are a natural combo, meaning that if you get hit by you block the first hit but get hit by the second hit, then the rest of the string becomes natural and you're going to get launched. So what I'm going to do right now is block the first hit, get hit by the second hit, and then try and attempt a block on the third, and you'll see that it's impossible, okay? And there you can see that the launch happens. So if you get hit by the second hit and the third hit is performed, then you've already been launched, because it's a natural combo. Now, it is a counter hit launcher, like I mentioned, and the reason for that is that the whole string becomes natural on counter hit, which is why it works that way. So if I key charge here and I get hit by the first hit and try and block the rest, you can see that it's impossible and I'm going to get launched. So that's why the move is so exceptionally dangerous, and it's very important to know how to deal with this move. Otherwise, it's something they can abuse, and it's very abusable against opponents who don't know how to stop it. So the first thing you need to know is that the first two hits, let's perform just the first two hits, like that, are launch punishable if you can manage to be in range. The first two hits are minus 15 on block, but as you can see right here, the range is very wonky and you don't want to mess it up. And if I try and do the down for 2-1, you can see that that actually doesn't punish, because that's 16 and not 15. So if you have reliable range on your 15 frame block punisher, then you can attempt that here, but it can be dangerous. It's a range dependent thing. But the first two hits are launch punishable. And if he performs all three hits, those are also launch punishable, this time a lot more reliably. And it actually becomes more minus, I think, minus 17 instead of 15, which means that you can get powerful launch punishes here. So this should work for the punish as well. Yeah, we can see it works right there. So that's good. Now, what good Kuma players will do a lot of the time is throw out the first two hits to sort of check what you're going to do and try to build reads on you. And the reason this works is because you're going to be so scared of the third hit that you don't attempt the punish, because if the third hit comes out, it interrupts and launches you, which is obviously very dangerous. So basically, what you need to know about this move is that if you do block the whole string, launch punish hard, you need to punish the opponent for attempting the string. But the other thing is that this is really a panic move and a round opener. A typical Kuma player in an online environment will attempt this move at least once as a round opener at some point in the match. Maybe not in the first round, maybe not in the second, but at some point they will be like, yeah, I'm just going to see what happens, because if they get it, it's such a good opener. It's faster than everything else and it's a full launch, right? So you need to be very careful about doing stuff that is going to get counter hit by this at the beginning of the round. Really, my recommendation is that you start off on the defensive against Kuma with, maybe just a backdash, and let's see what he's going to do. And also, when you're playing against Kuma close up, be aware that he has the fastest counter hit launcher in the game in his arsenal, even faster and more powerful, really, than Katarina's standing 4 in a move like that. So again, it's not a character that you want to be too eager about trying to interrupt and trying to use highs against, but really, like, take your time, block not one move, maybe 2 or 3 moves before you try and take your turn, because he usually has a crazy crush move or something very powerful like this to try and mess you up with when you're on your way in. And that's really the most important thing against these characters is patience and not trying to interrupt them unnecessarily, especially with highs when they've had the option of transitioning into hunting. Another move that I'm going to talk about here, because you always see it when these players end up at the wall, is this up 1+2. I would say that somewhere around like 75% of the time when your back is against the wall, against Kuma or Panda online, they will at least attempt this low. It is kind of slow and very punishable, but the reason they're doing it is if they get this when your back is against the wall, this butt smash becomes a guaranteed follow-up for massive damage. So just be on the lookout for this move when your back is against the wall. You can low parry it, but it's probably better to just attempt a block and a powerful block punish. You also need to be careful, obviously, because of that powerful back one power crush. Kuma is good at wall splatting opponents, and he also gets good damage after a wall splat, so that's very important to keep in mind. Apart from the things I've already mentioned, I mean, he has a snake edge, and the same thing that goes for all snake edges, you have to try and visually react to and block it, and then apply a block punish. But apart from that, the other major tip I need to give you against this character is that you should really take the time to go into practice mode and figure out how you want to combo this character. And the reason I'm saying this is, as you probably know, he has very short legs, and when he gets launched and he's in this horizontal state in the air right here, the hitbox is much smaller than a normal character, meaning that a lot of combos that you will normally attempt to do will not work. They will whiff, and when they whiff, Kuma players are usually very good at recovering fast at the crouch and then catching you with a while standing launcher. So you get half a combo for launching him, but he gets a whole combo on you for messing it up. And that's something that is so frustrating and damaging that it's usually going to cost you the round. It's terrible. But it's also the case that there are some unique and powerful combos that only work against this character. So I mean, this is an example that you've seen me use right here. I can get 90 damage right there. This works off of all of Miguel's launchers. I can chain back 5 back 2s here for massive damage. That's more than I would ever get on a normal character. Katarina is another character who really struggles to perform her bread and butter combo against these characters, but if she gets a wall combo against them, she can do jab, down forward 1, 3-3, 3-3-3, which is not only exceptional damage, it actually ends in a spike, so it's an amazing wall combo for her. So I think it's, if you're not going to lab how to combo or what to do against any other characters, at least practice your combos against these characters, because it's so important. I mean, you have maybe some options that you use for the small characters in the game, like Chloe, Xiaoyu, and Elisa, but you really need to get a little bit more creative and figure out exactly what you want to do when you combo Kuma and Panda in the open and at the wall. And trust me, if that's not something you've done already, it's going to make a world of difference. I think that's going to wrap up my general tips and tricks on how to deal with online Kumas and Pandas. There are other things that we could have talked about as well, but I think this is the most important bits. If you have more wisdom to share with the rest of us, then obviously please do so in the comment section. But for now, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye bye for now.